Every woman has experienced that painful scenario at least once. She gives everything to a man: her time, attention, energy, and emotional investment. Yet, despite all her efforts, he grows distant, indifferent, or even cold. The more she tries to win his affection, the less interested he becomes. This frustrating dynamic leaves many women feeling powerless, confused, and desperate for answers. But what if the key to making a man obsessed with you isn't about chasing him harder, proving your worth, or bending to his moods? What if it's about understanding the male ego and learning how to work with it rather than against it? The brutal truth about attraction. The truth is, the male ego operates on an entirely different system than most women expect. Contrary to popular belief, men are not primarily moved by kindness, effort, or even love in the traditional sense. Instead, they respond deeply to how they feel in a woman's presence. When a man feels unique, irreplaceable, and chosen, something powerful awakens within him, a desire to prove himself, to be worthy of her attention, and to fight for her interest. This is where most relationships go wrong. Women often try to win over a man by giving him constant validation, admiration, and emotional availability. While these gestures may seem like signs of care and affection, they actually have the opposite effect. By feeding his ego too easily and predictably, women unintentionally strip away the mystery, challenge, and emotional tension that naturally attract men. The power of emotional scarcity. One of the most effective psychological tools a woman can use to create obsession in a man is emotional scarcity. Men are wired to value what is difficult to obtain. When something comes too easily, it loses its perceived worth. That's why so many men chase after women who treat them poorly while ignoring those who offer unconditional love and devotion. It's not about being cruel, but about triggering the subconscious association between challenge and value. By introducing emotional scarcity into the relationship dynamic, a woman creates a sense of unpredictability. She stops being a guaranteed source of validation and instead becomes someone whose approval must be earned. This subtle shift immediately alters the balance of power in the relationship. Suddenly, the man begins to question whether he still holds influence over her. He starts wondering if she still cares, if he matters to her, and, if he senses any distance, he begins to crave her attention more intensely. Strategic withdrawal, the art of walking away. Perhaps one of the most difficult yet transformative actions a woman can take is strategic withdrawal. When a man emotionally withdraws or acts distant, the natural instinct is to pursue him, to beg, plead, explain, or reassure him of her feelings. However, this only reinforces his control over the situation and feeds his ego further. Instead, a confident woman walks away, not with anger or drama, but with quiet strength. She removes herself from the emotional equation, leaving him in a state of uncertainty. This sudden absence creates a void that his mind desperately tries to fill. Questions begin to surface. What did I do wrong? Did I lose her? Is she moving on without me? This internal crisis triggers something deep within the male psyche, the fear of loss. And nothing drives obsession more than the thought of losing something valuable. A man who once took her for granted suddenly finds himself consumed by thoughts of her, longing for the connection he no longer has. The psychological impact of silence. Silence is one of the most underestimated weapons in emotional psychology. It carries weight far beyond words ever could. When a woman chooses to remain silent in moments when a man expects an emotional reaction, she disrupts the entire foundation of his control. For example, imagine a situation where a man sends a vague message, perhaps a half-hearted text meant to gauge her reaction. The average woman might respond with anxiety, seeking clarity or reassurance. A confident woman, however, responds with silence. She doesn't rush to reply. She doesn't offer explanations. She simply withdraws. This calculated indifference throws him off completely. He expected her to react emotionally, to seek his approval, to express concern, to give him the satisfaction of knowing he still holds power over her. Instead, he gets nothing. His usual tactics fail, his strategies crumble, and in that moment, he realizes he doesn't have the control he thought he did, letting him feel the difference. Another powerful strategy is to make a man feel the difference between having you, thinking he had you, and clearly not having you anymore. This isn't about playing games or manipulating emotions. It's about shifting the dynamics of the relationship so that he begins to see your value in a new light. When a woman radiates confidence, independence, and self-worth, something primal activates in the male brain. He recognizes that he's facing someone who cannot be tamed by typical tricks or behaviors. Someone who doesn't bow to his moods, doesn't react to his provocations, and doesn't need his approval to feel complete. This kind of woman becomes an emotional mystery, an enigma that he can't quite solve. And because men are naturally drawn to challenges, especially ones that threaten their ego, he begins to fixate on her. She becomes the song stuck in his head, the thought that haunts him before sleep, and the first thing on his mind when he wakes up. Rising above. Invest in yourself. Perhaps the most important step in making a man obsessed with you is focusing on yourself. When a woman invests in her own growth, physically, mentally, professionally, and socially, she exudes a level of confidence and attractiveness that is nearly irresistible. Let him see, or hear, that your life is thriving without him. Let him witness your progress, your happiness, your success. Don't boast or brag. Just live your life fully and authentically. Show him that you're not waiting for him to appreciate you. You're already out there, shining brighter than ever. This realization strikes his ego in the most effective way possible. No direct aggression, no harsh words, just undeniable proof that you are better off without him. And that stings deeply, breaking the routine. Most relationships fall into predictable patterns. He does something, you react, and the cycle repeats until it becomes boring or distant. To break free from this cycle, a woman must stop dancing to his rhythm and start setting her own beat. If he plays aloof, ignore it. If he ignores your messages, don't panic. Focus on your life. If he tries to guilt-trip you or manipulate your emotions, stay firm without justification. The moment you break out of the usual choreography, he loses emotional control over the situation. And when he realizes he no longer holds the power, he begins to dance to your rhythm. The irresistible combination: unpredictability and indifference. A man becomes truly obsessed when he senses that he cannot control or predict your reactions. When he no longer feels certain of your interest, he begins to crave it more intensely. This is the essence of strategic indifference. You become the woman who doesn't fall for his usual tricks, the one who doesn't bend under pressure, the one who doesn't need his approval to feel whole. And that makes you utterly fascinating to him. He begins to question everything. Did he make a mistake? Was she really as invested as he thought? Could he have lost something truly valuable? These questions spiral inside him, fueling a growing obsession that he can't quite understand. The transformation within. As you master these psychological techniques, something extraordinary happens. You transform. Not just in how others see you, but in how you see yourself. Your self-worth no longer depends on his recognition. Your happiness isn't dictated by his moods. Your inner value remains steady, regardless of his level of interest. And if he reaches out again, with real interest, serious intent, and genuine respect, you return stronger, more fascinating, and more emotionally distant than ever before. That's the deadly combination that makes him chase you, dream of you, crave you. But here's the most important point. It no longer matters whether he falls in love with you or gets lost in you. Because by then, you've found something far more valuable: your own unshakable power, your own unconditional worth, and your own ability to create the life you truly deserve. True power lies within. Making a man obsessed with you isn't about manipulation or trickery. It's about understanding the male ego, recognizing emotional patterns, and consciously choosing to stop feeding toxic dynamics. It's about mastering your own mind and using emotional psychology to your advantage. When you reach this level of personal strength, you no longer need anyone's validation to feel whole. You no longer waste energy chasing someone who refuses to value you. You no longer define yourself by another person's obsession. True power lies in being emotionally desired, not because you begged for attention, but because you created space for him to realize your worth on his own. That is the magic of emotional mastery, and once you've achieved it, no man can ever make you feel powerless again.